The girl's mind was hazy, and fragments of memories flashed through her head. Zijing, even though you're our biological daughter, we've raised Xiaoxian for 15 years, and we're really close to her. To the public, Xiaoxian is still the eldest daughter of the Yin family, but don't worry, you won't miss out on anything you're entitled to. Who was talking? And who even is the eldest daughter of the Yin family? What? You want to go? Are you kidding me? They want a proper socialite, and you can't even play a single piano piece. You'll just embarrass us. I really don't get why the Yin family adopted someone like you. You have the same blood type as Lu Wei, so what's the big deal about giving her some blood? Isn't that the only thing you're good for? You're just a country bumpkin. How can anyone be as worthless as you? Are you really a child of the Yin family? The poor girl jolted awake, breathing heavily as she slowly came to her senses. She looked at the thorn needle in her hand. This was a hospital. But whose memories were those just now? Did she survive and somehow end up in someone else's body? Suddenly, the door creaked open, and a mocking voice rang out, "Oh, you're awake. I thought you were dead." A female doctor yanked the needle out forcefully. "It's just a bit of blood, and you fainted? You really think you're some rich girl, huh?" She pinched the girl's wound on purpose, making the blood drip out. "See? That's what happens when you move around too much." The girl winced in pain, but suddenly flipped her wrist and pinned the woman against the bedside table. The woman cried out, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" Another young woman in the room rushed over in a panic. "That's Dr. Lu. She's not here to hurt you." Zijing let go and apologized. "Sorry, I just woke up. I thought a dog was biting me." Dr. Lu's face turned pale, but she still backed away a few steps in fear. "You're just an ungrateful brat with no manners," she muttered. The frail-looking woman beside her, full of guilt, glanced worriedly at the girl. "Zijing, how are you feeling?" "It's all my fault. If it weren't for my illness, you wouldn't have had to give me blood, and this time it even made you faint." Zijing barely looked at the woman, and a name flashed through her mind, Yin Lu Wei. She was her aunt, 25 years old, the top socialite of Guqing, a famous pianist in China, and a hemophiliac. On the outside, she seemed fragile and gentle, but in reality, she only saw Zijing as a walking blood bank, always there when she needed it. Since she'd been reborn in the body of this poor girl, she might as well have some fun with them. Zijing looked at her hypocritical aunt pretending to care and thought, "This malnourished body only passed out because you drained my blood for days on end. They must be out of their minds if they think I'm still the same pushover I used to be." Dr. Lu snapped at Yin Lu Wei, "Why are you apologizing to her? She's just some adopted country bumpkin who doesn't know her place. But, speaking of which, who pushed you down the stairs earlier?" She then turned to Zijing and shouted, "I'm talking to you. Are you deaf or something?" Zijing frowned and shot Dr. Lu a look. "You're so annoying, can you be quiet for a second?" Dr. Lu slammed the folder in her hand onto the table, clearly irritated. "What kind of attitude is that? Forget it, Lu Wei, with the way she's acting, I'm not treating her anymore. Go find someone else." Zijing calmly flipped her hair and gestured towards the door. "The exit's over there. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." Dr. Lu, flustered and insulted, snapped back, "Lua, who do you think you are, strutting around like you're better than everyone? Acting all high and mighty while flirting with your uncle." Then she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Yin Lu Wei, watching the scene unfold, scolded Zijing, "Dr. Lu is a top-tier therapist. What are you going to do about your health now that you've driven her away?" Zijing casually sat back on the bed and started getting dressed. "She's just a glucose pusher. It's not like I'm undergoing some major surgery or something." Yin Lu Wei couldn't shake the feeling that Zijing had completely changed after waking up. Zijing stood up and began walking towards the door. But Dr. Lu did say one thing right. "I'm curious too, who exactly pushed you down the stairs? People who do bad things usually slip up eventually, don't they?" Yin Lu Wei bit her lip and stayed silent as Zijing walked out. Glancing at the room number, Zijing let out a sarcastic chuckle. Nice touch. I heard you specifically picked this room for me. How charming. Yin Lu Wei started to sweat, feeling like things were slipping out of her control. After a moment of hesitation, she pulled out her phone and made a call. Once connected, she spoke softly. Morfeng, are you busy? Zijing usually listens to you the most. Can you help talk some sense into her? On the other end of the line, there was a brief pause before a cold voice responded, focus on your recovery. If she keeps acting out, I'll make sure she regrets it. The girl's delicate face accidentally caught the attention of two guys across the street. The spoiled rich kid Nai Chao nudged his buddy and said, Hey, isn't that the girl that Yin family adopted a few months ago? Didn't she cause a huge scandal recently by trying to flirt with her future aunt's husband? What's she doing out and about now? The wealthy seventh young master Fu Yunchen looked at her with curiosity, clearly unaware of the gossip. Nai Chao kept spilling the tea. You didn't know? She had the nerve to mess with Jiang Morfeng. She's got guts, I'll give her that. But it's kind of sad, she was only adopted to be a blood donor for Yin Lu Wei. Just then, a group of thugs appeared out of nowhere, blocking the girl's way. One of them was holding a knife. Hey there, little sis. Feeling down? Why don't you let us cheer you up a bit? We'll make sure you have the time of your life, one of them sneered. Fu Yunchen saw this and casually said, Go help her out. Nai Chao wasn't sure he heard right. If she ends up clinging to me, I'm blaming you, he muttered, reluctantly stepping forward. Women are such trouble. I really don't want to get dragged into this. But before Nai Chao could do anything, something unexpected happened. The girl suddenly grabbed the thug's knife-wielding arm without a hint of emotion and flipped him over her shoulder with lightning speed. Another thug, the one with the fruit knife, cursed and charged at her from behind. You little brat, don't push your luck. The girl quickly spun around and threw another punch, knocking the second thug down. Nai Chao stood there, completely stunned. No way, didn't she just get out of the hospital a few days ago? Who is this total badass? Fu Yunchen, who had been leaning against the wall watching everything unfold, suddenly smiled, his eyes lighting up. This little one's got some skills, he mused. It took Nai Chao a moment to snap out of it. He pinched his arm hard. Yep, it hurt, so this wasn't a dream. Fu Yunchen, now standing behind Nai Chao, explained that every move she made was precise. If she had used just a bit more force, these guys wouldn't just be lying on the ground, they'd be in serious trouble. Nai Chao broke out in a cold sweat. No way, could she actually be some kind of prodigy? If that's true, we should be worshipping her, not messing with her. Fu Yunchen, lost in thought, pondered over this. A prodigy? Just then, the girl seemed to teleport behind Nai Chao, watching with amused interest, quipped, on one knee. Are you proposing, Nai Chao? Nai Chao wished he could slap himself for being so reckless with his words. Nai Chao's legs shook uncontrollably as he looked at the girl. Yin Zijin calmly addressed the man in front of her. 3 days from now, at 7 p.m. at the pub on Huangpu Road, you're going to face some trouble, something bloody, but it won't be anything too serious. However, 7 days from now, between 12 and 2 p.m., you better avoid the Punan district, or your life could be in danger. Nai Chao was totally confused, but Fu Yunchen laughed and asked, Hey kid, are you some kind of fortune teller? Yin Zijin brushed off the question and shifted the conversation, saying, It's probably unnecessary, but thanks for your concern. I was just using Nai Chao to test my skills. Looks like I still need some time to fully regain my abilities. Fu Yunchen stared at her with a playful, almost flirtatious gaze. You gave him a reading, how about you give me one too? Nai Chao was dumbfounded. What's going on? Is this rich guy really trying to flirt in broad daylight? Does he even know who he's dealing with? He quickly stepped between them, saying, Hey, don't pay any attention to him. Where are you headed? Let us give you a ride. Yin Zijin shook her head and started to leave, but just then, her stomach betrayed her with a loud growl. Fu Yunchen chuckled, Looks like our little friend here is hungry. How about I treat you to dinner tonight as a thank you for the heads up? You in? Later, as the three of them sat down in the upscale Han Pavilion restaurant, Nai Chao looked around in shock. Seventh young master, don't tell me you know the owner of this place. Even my dad has to book 3 months in advance to get a table here. Trying to act generous, Nai Chao said to the girl, it's a rare occasion for the seventh young master to host, so don't hold back, eat as much as you want. The one thing he's not short on is money. Yin Zijin took a sip of her tea and casually replied, that's funny because money is exactly what I'm short on. Nai Chao was stunned. Wait, don't the Ying family give you money, he thought. No way, even their servants get paid, let alone an adopted daughter. Yin Zijin kept a calm expression as she said, I'm bad at studying, never learned any proper etiquette, and can't do fancy things like flower arranging or tea ceremonies. Why would they give me money when I'm such an embarrassment? Nai Chao was left speechless, but Fu Yunchen chuckled, well, I guess that just means they couldn't see your value. The formal etiquette they cling to probably traces back to European royalty. While talking, Yin Zijin unexpectedly noticed a faint spiritual energy seeping from an unassuming incense burner. Nai Chao was even more confused. Wait, what? How did we end up talking about royal manners? Yin Zijin put down her teacup and gave a self-mocking smile. Old habits die hard, I suppose. When I first came to Earth in the mid-15th century, I was a frequent guest at many European royal courts. But I guess it's time I got used to my new life now. Right now, her priority is to heal this body that's been weakened from excessive blood loss. Casually, she asked, is there anything fun to do in this city? Nai Chao eagerly jumped in, there's tons. Have you really been here this whole time and never gone out? Yin Zijin quietly muttered, walking blood banks probably don't get much freedom. Nai Chao was stunned into silence again. Fu Yunchen frowned and pointed to a bowl of red date soup on the table. Drink this. You're too thin, you need to build up your strength. Nai Chao paused for a moment and then started counting on his fingers. How many times has Yin Lu Wei been hurt this year? Just hospital visits alone, it's gotta be at least 20. His eyes widened in shock. Dude, don't tell me you gave her that much blood, too. Yin Zijin narrowed her eyes and thought, it's probably more than that, otherwise, this body wouldn't be in such a dire state when I woke up. Fu Yunchen chuckled softly, impressive, maybe you should apply for a world record. Nai Chao broke out in a cold sweat. The young master speaking in such a gentle tone usually meant trouble for someone. Nervously, he quickly agreed, seventh young master is right. You need to eat more to build up your strength. He then hurriedly called the waiter to bring another plate of pork liver. Just then, the carved wooden door of the Han Pavilion opened once more, and a group of people walked in, led by a man with an aloof yet polite demeanor. It was Jiang Morfeng, the third master of the Jiang family and the top heir among the 4 great families, as well as Yin Lu Wei's fiancé. The manager immediately stepped forward, greeting him respectfully, Mr. Jiang, your table is ready. Please follow me. As they moved forward, the secretary suddenly leaned in and whispered, Third master, look over there. Jiang Morfeng glanced in the direction he pointed, and his gaze landed on Fu Yunchen. So, even after 3 years abroad, this spoiled rich kid hasn't matured at all, he mused. To his surprise, Yin Zijin was there too, looking like she was resisting something. His eyes darkened as he casually made his way toward them. It was almost amusing, the notoriously carefree 7th young master, Fu Yunchen, was seriously urging a girl to eat pork liver. Be good. This is good for you. The girl's reluctance was clear as she muttered, I don't like organ meat. Suddenly, the bamboo curtain of the private room was yanked open. It was Jiang Morfeng, yes, the same future uncle-in-law of Yin Zijin who had wrongly accused her of trying to seduce him. He looked down at her with disdain and asked coldly, did you sneak out of the hospital just to hang out and mess around with these people? I don't have time to lecture you. Let me just warn you, don't make Lu Wei worry or stress out. Her health isn't great, so you'd better head home and give her some peace of mind, Jiang Morfeng said coldly. His secretary chimed in, more politely, Miss Yin, I hope you can be more self-aware and stop clinging to third master. He's too busy to deal with your antics every day. Yin Zijin crossed her arms and didn't even look up. That's funny. I've already run off to this place, and Uncle Jiang still feels the need to come and discipline me. Who's really clinging to who here? The secretary's face darkened. How dare you talk to third master like that, he snapped. Fu Yunshan suddenly burst into laughter. These days, anyone really thinks they're something special, huh? Honestly, he's not all that. Hey, kid, why not hang out with me instead? Jiang Morfeng said nothing more, just turned and stormed off with a dark expression. Nai Chao felt like he'd just watched a live drama. It was the first time he'd seen Jiang Morfeng get owned like that. Seventh young master, you and the boss work together like a dream team. Fu Yunshan shot him a disgusted look as he wriggled around excitedly. You're gross. Stop moving around so much. Then he turned to Yin Zijin and added, if you want to go out, why not check out the shopping street, amusement park, or aquarium? Those places are great for kids like you. Oh, and near the TV tower, there's an underground market where you can find weird stuff like fortune-telling and stone gambling. Yin Zijin perked up at that and asked, fortune-telling, like tarot cards? She looked down thoughtfully. It had been years since she'd played with tarot cards. But in this era where spiritual energy is all but gone, do real tarot cards even still exist? Fu Yunshan kept watching her and smirked. Of course you'd be into that stuff instead of the usual places girls like. The underground market only opens after midnight. If you want to go, hit me up. I'll go with you, it's a sketchy place, and it wouldn't be safe for you to go alone. Yin Zijin neither agreed nor refused because she suddenly had her own plan in mind. She was originally a rich family's daughter, but when she returned home late at night, it wasn't her family waiting for her, it was the cold face of the housekeeper. After dinner, he had driven her back, and they had casually chatted on the way. During the ride, Fu Yunshan learned why she ended up at the Yin family in the first place. Turns out, Jiang Morfeng had brought Yin Zijin from Qingzhou County to Huqing, saying he was sending her to study at Qingji. But on the way, they got into a car accident and ended up in the hospital. Although her injuries weren't serious, it accidentally revealed that she and Yin Lu Wei share a rare blood type. The Yin family then adopted her, essentially treating her as a walking blood bank for the hemophilia-stricken Yin Lu Wei. Feeling a bit sorry for her, Fu Yunshan gently ruffled her hair. After seeing her head into the villa, he suddenly had a thought and secretly followed her in. The second miss finally decided to come back, huh? The madam said since you stubbornly left the hospital without permission, you don't need to come back tonight either. Once you admit your mistake, you can come back in. Please leave, second miss. But the girl didn't even glance at the housekeeper. Without any hesitation, she turned around and walked away. The housekeeper was stunned. She's really leaving? He quickly rushed forward to block her. Second miss, don't be so stubborn. Just apologize to Madam and Miss Lu Wei, and everything will be fine. Acting like this won't do you any good. You won't win the madam's favor this way. Suddenly, a man's voice chuckled from behind. I wouldn't have known that the servants of the Yin family now dare to boss around their masters if I hadn't come in. Is this how Madam Yin trains her staff? It was the seventh young master, Fu Yunshan. Yin Zijin turned to look at him. You're still here? The housekeeper broke out in cold sweat when he saw the sudden appearance of Fu Yunshan. How did the second miss get involved with him? This is bad. Fu Yunshan had a protective look on his face, as if saying, good thing I didn't leave, otherwise, my little friend here would have gotten bullied. Yin Zijin was clearly annoyed. What's the point of wasting time talking to someone irrelevant? Might as well settle it with a fight. But Fu Yunshan wasn't planning to let this power-abusing housekeeper off so easily. Who did you say should apologize? The housekeeper couldn't take it anymore and slapped himself, bowing as he apologized. Second miss, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have disrespected you. It's all my fault. Fu Yunshan ignored him, smiling as he turned to Yin Zijin. Let's go. This time, I'll personally take you inside. Meanwhile, Madame Yin Zhong Manhua was lounging on the sofa in the living room, flipping through a book like a high society lady. When she heard footsteps, she didn't even bother to look up. Has the second miss finally decided to behave? The housekeeper barely dared to breathe and quietly muttered. Madame Zhong Manhua frowned and lifted her head. She didn't? What? But she cut herself off the moment she saw who was standing in front of her. So it's the seventh young master. I just heard from your father yesterday that you're back from overseas. What brings you to the Yin family so late? Fu Yunshan glanced at her. I'm just dropping the kid off at home. I didn't feel comfortable leaving her alone. I was worried someone might try to push her around. Zhong Manhua's smile froze at that. What do you mean by that? The housekeeper quickly stepped forward and gave a brief explanation of what just happened in the courtyard. After listening, Zhong Manhua frowned for a moment, then forced a smile. Seventh young master, this is just a misunderstanding. I really appreciate you coming all this way. Zijin is still my daughter, how could I bear to let her suffer? Fu Yunshan let out a mocking laugh. Oh, is that so? Well, I'm relieved to hear that. It's good to treat your adopted daughter kindly, that way, people will praise you for being so loving and compassionate. I normally don't meddle in other families' affairs, but he then turned to Yin Zijin and handed her his phone number. I saved my number for you. If you need anything, reach out anytime. Yin Zijin nodded. Drive safe on your way back. After Fu Yunshan left, Yin Zijin didn't bother acknowledging her fake mother and the housekeeper. She headed straight upstairs to rest. Zhong Manhua's face darkened as she slammed a book down on the table. Look at her attitude. First, she foolishly got involved with Jiang Morfeng, and now she's tangled up with Fu Yunshan. Does she really think seventh young master is some nice guy? The housekeeper, unsure of what to say, cautiously reminded her, Madam, the eldest miss is still waiting for your call. Zhong Manhua waved her hand dismissively. Oh, right, I almost forgot. She then immediately switched to a warm, motherly tone as she called her precious adopted daughter. Seeing how differently Madame treated the two girls, the housekeeper couldn't help but sigh. Back when the second miss mysteriously disappeared, Madame was devastated for a while, until she later adopted the eldest miss. Over the years, the adopted daughter, though not blood-related, was treated better than if she were. Meanwhile, the biological daughter, who was finally found after all that time, was treated like she never even came back. In her room, Yin Zijin, after jumping out, made her way to an underground market that only opens at midnight, unaware that someone had already set their sights on her. And that someone was none other than Fu Yunshan, the rich seventh young master, who seemed amused by her sneaky behavior. Right now, he was bantering with a pretty bartender who gave him a friendly warning, someone put up an S-rank bounty of 11 million on you. At least 10 people on the darknet have taken the job, so watch your back. Fu Yunshan's eyes twinkled with amusement. They'll have to find me first. Yin Zijin wandered the market for a while before finally spotting what she was after, a rare coin hidden among some old porcelain. Just one glance told her exactly what it was, a Qin dynasty silver coin, dating back to the Warring States period, worth at least 5 million. She crouched down, though, and instead pointed to a nearby stone bowl as if asking about that instead. The street vendor was a young guy with dyed yellow hair. He looked Yin Zijin up and down and said dismissively, $500, take it or leave it. In his head, he was grumbling, I've been waiting forever, and I finally get some broke kid? Yin Zijin casually let her fingers brush over the ancient coin. What about this one? She asked. The guy rolled his eyes, annoyed. Whatever, take it too, just don't waste my time. He clearly thought she was just another clueless customer. She paid up without a fuss, grabbed the coin, and examined it closely. But to the vendor, it just looked like she was some desperate penny pincher. He sneered to the stall owner next to him, look at this broke kid acting like she scored a jackpot. The other vendor chuckled, careful with your words, don't want to make the poor girl cry, do you? The yellow-haired guy snickered, she should be begging me for a refund. Maybe I'd give her back half. How's that sound? Laughter erupted around them. You're gonna scare her off, and she'll run home crying to her parents, someone joked. The yellow-haired guy grinned smugly. I'm doing her a favor, teaching her a lesson. But before he could finish, he got a rude awakening. A sharply dressed man suddenly stepped forward and stopped the girl. My boss is offering $6 million for that coin you're holding. Would you be willing to sell it? The yellow-haired guy's smirk froze. He couldn't believe his ears. Then, a powerful voice came from behind the girl. If that's not enough, we can go higher. Seeing her hesitation, the younger man pulled out a certificate from his bag. Our boss is a certified appraiser. You don't need to worry, we're legit. Some of the other stall owners were gossiping. Did he just say that's an ancient Qin dynasty half-tail coin? Is it really worth that much? I remember a similar one sold for over $7 million at an auction overseas a few years ago. Yin Zijin stared thoughtfully at the certificate. Looks like there are quite a few interesting new professions in the 21st century, she mused, quickly agreeing to the deal. The younger man handed her a black card. This has $6 million in international currency loaded on it. But Yin Zijin's eyes were more focused on the golden iris emblem at the corner of the card. Looks like my old gold storing bank hasn't gone under after all, she thought. The yellow-haired vendor couldn't take it anymore. He lunged forward, trying to snatch back the ancient coin. I'm not selling it anymore. I found it, so it should be mine. But Yin Zijin, unfazed, glanced at him and suddenly kicked him several meters away. The yellow-haired guy hit the ground hard, leaving the crowd in stunned silence. Yin Zijin casually handed the coin to the young man, took the black card, and started to leave. What shocked everyone even more was the sudden appearance of the market enforcers, who never usually showed themselves. They lifted the yellow-haired guy off the ground, one on each side, and addressed the crowd. This market has its own rules. If you try to reclaim something you've sold, you're out. His vendor permit is revoked, and he's permanently banned. They then bowed to Yin Zijin. We apologize for the trouble, they said. She replied calmly, it's fine. Meanwhile, a bartender at the back of the crowd watched the whole scene and muttered, your girl's got quite a ruthless side. Next to her, Fu Yunshan smirked slightly. What are you talking about? She's perfectly sweet and adorable. All right, the bartender was speechless. Fu Yunshan turned to leave. I can't go. I need to take care of the kid's feelings. After all, we just said goodnight 2 hours ago. Running into each other here would make things really awkward for the kid. Mr. Ji Yu, who bought the ancient coin for $6 million from the young girl, was accompanied by Ji Yu Cheng, who looked really guilty. If we had come earlier, we wouldn't have wasted so much money. But the old man just waved his hand with a smile. It's not wasted. At least I got to meet such an interesting young girl. Ji Yu Cheng quickly realized that the old man was referring to her earlier kick. The old man nodded, confirming it, and added that the girl didn't just get lucky with the coin. Ji Yu Cheng hesitated, saying, no way. I even spent 10 days observing the underground market to find it. Just then, the old man suddenly clutched his chest and fell to the ground. Ji Yu Cheng, panicked, rushed to help him. Oh no, he just had surgery recently. How could this happen so soon? And Miss Meng is far away and won't make it in time. What should I do? He frantically pulled out his phone to call for help, shaking as he tried to administer medication, but couldn't get it into the old man's mouth. Then a voice came from behind him, lay him down. Keeping him propped up will make it harder for him to breathe. Ji Yu Cheng turned around, surprised, and saw that the girl who had sold the ancient coin earlier, Yin Zijin, was walking over quickly. She knelt down and checked the old man's pulse. Ji Yu Cheng, furious, demanded to know what she was doing. Yin Zijin calmly replied with just 2 words, save people. Ji Yu Cheng thought she was being ridiculous. Save people? Just because our boss bought a coin from you doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. But before she could finish, the girl cut her off. The old man has arrhythmia. He had surgery a month ago, and the risk of an episode is highest between midnight and 8 a.m. He shouldn't have been out so late. Ji Cheng stared at her in disbelief because everything she said was spot on. Before Ji Cheng could process his shock, Yin Zijin added, "Give me the acupuncture needles." Without thinking, Ji Cheng handed over the box with the needles. Considering the old man's condition, even if someone else showed up, it might be too late, so why not let her try? But when he saw the girl expertly use 7 needles at once, Ji Cheng was stunned all over again. He had only ever seen Miss Meng use 4 needles at a time, and this girl's speed was incredible. The whole process took less than a minute. The old man suddenly coughed and slowly opened his eyes. Ji Cheng helped him to his feet as he stared steadily at the girl in front of him. The girl looked no older than a teenager, yet her medical skills were astonishing. The old man thought for a moment, then pulled out a jade pendant and handed it to the girl. "Young lady," he said seriously, "you saved my life. This is for you. Keep it safe, and if you ever need anything, as long as it's not illegal, I'll make sure it gets done." Ji Cheng was shocked because she knew this wasn't just any jade pendant, it was a promise from the Ji family head. It meant that if this girl ever needed anything, the entire Ji family would go all out to make it happen. Yin Zijin hadn't planned to take it, but when she saw that Ji character engraved on the pendant, it seemed to remind her of something, and she accepted it in the end. The old man, clearly charmed by the girl, smiled and asked for her name. Yin Zijin was silent for a few seconds before simply saying, "I have no name." As she walked away, Ji Cheng asked the old man, could she be from one of the 4 powerful families that protect the city, maybe the Yin family? But with the Yin family's limited resources, how could they raise someone with such impressive martial arts skills? The old man didn't answer his question. Instead, he sighed deeply, "What a pity she's not my Ji family's daughter." The next morning, as the girl was still asleep, she was suddenly woken up by a series of loud dings. Groggy, she reached for her phone and saw that it was Fu Yunshan, a man known as the 7th uncle. His voice on the other end of the call was cheerful. "Hey kid, are you awake yet?" "Just woke up. Who? What were you up to last night? You sound so tired. Didn't sleep all night?" Yin Zijin jolted awake and glanced at the sunlight streaming through the window. She had stayed up until 5 a.m. watching dramas. She had planned to study some new 21st century tech, but instead, she got hooked on something called web dramas, total time wasters. Fu Yunshan teased her, "The joys of being young. I can't do that anymore. If I don't get enough sleep, my back aches all day." Yin Zijin casually ran a hand through her hair and replied, "That's probably because of your weak kidneys. If you don't mind, I could make some medicine to help with that." Fu Yunshan couldn't help but laugh. "Wow, you're pretty impressive, kid. Not only can you predict the future, but you can make medicine too." Yin Zijin played along. "I guess I'm okay at it, but can you stop calling me a kid?" Fu Yunshan took a sip of his coffee and said, "There's a generation gap every 3 years, you know. I'm 6 years older than you, so what else should I call you but a kid?" Yin Zijin raised an eyebrow, thinking, "What's with this guy? Not only does he treat me like a kid, but now he wants to play Big Brother." Fu Yunshan's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Come on, just call me a big brother once." Yin Zijin shot back, "Stop dreaming and get some sunlight, it'll help you get better faster." Realizing he lost the argument, Fu Yunshan cleared his throat and said seriously, "All right, no more joking around. You don't need to worry about the trending news, I'll handle it." Yin Zijin asked, "What trending news?" She opened her phone and saw that the top 3 trending topics were all about her, Yin Lu Wei's recovery, the adopted Yin family daughter being ungrateful, and the adopted daughter seducing her future uncle. To top it off, her little aunt had just posted something, filled with fake concern and guilt. Her private messages were flooded with hate from people supporting Yin Lu Wei, each comment more vicious than the last. As Yin Zijin looked up, she noticed 2 people entering through the gate, Yin Lu Wei and the old lady of the Yin family. She thought to herself, some people really can't go a day without causing trouble, huh? Well, if my dear little aunt wants to stir things up, I'll play along. What's the best way to deal with troublesome relatives? Should I fight fire with fire or just let the dogs out? But nothing beats a good face-to-face smackdown. Zhong Manhua noticed Yin Lu Wei helping the old lady of the Yin family into the house, and she quickly went over to greet them. "What brings you here?" she asked. The old lady, leaning on her cane, snapped back, "What an old woman like me can't visit." Zhong Manhua immediately forced a smile. "That's not what I meant at all. I just wasn't expecting you, so I didn't prepare anything." The old lady cut straight to the point. "I'm here to settle something today. Get your daughter out here." Yin Lu Wei helped the old lady to a seat and, still smiling, said, "It's been a while since you and my sister-in-law had a chat. Why don't you two catch up while I go find Zijing and apologize to her?" That comment was enough to set the old lady off. She slammed her cane on the floor and scolded, "Absolutely not. Since when do elders apologize to juniors? Whoever did wrong should be the one to apologize." Zhong Manhua took a deep breath and shouted upstairs, "Yin Zijin." Right then, the girl leisurely walked down the stairs, glancing at the three-person interrogation scene. "You need something from me?" Her casual attitude made Zhong Manhua furious. "Is this how I raised you? Can't you even greet people properly?" The old lady waved dismissively, saying in a detached tone, "Oh, don't bother. I only have one granddaughter, and she's studying abroad right now." It was clear she didn't acknowledge this adopted granddaughter at all. Yin Zijin, still unfazed but polite, responded, "That's fine. I'm not in the habit of randomly claiming relatives anyway." The old lady was so stunned she almost lost her breath. Zhong Manhua angrily shouted, "Shut up! Is this how I taught you to speak to your elders?" The old lady, maintaining her icy tone, said, "Enough. I'm not here to watch you discipline your daughter. I want to hear from her why she pushed Lu Wei down the stairs at the New Year's banquet. Did she think that without Lu Wei, she could take her place as the Jiang family's mistress? Otherwise, how could someone shamelessly take a bath in a room that their own uncle-in-law reserved and try to seduce Jiang Morfeng?" Yin Zijin narrowed her eyes, recalling what had happened a month ago at the Air Transport Center Hotel. She had just finished a bath in the presidential suite when she unexpectedly saw Yin Lu Wei's fiancé, Morfeng, and was told that it was his private suite. Although the incident was eventually hushed up, rumors still spread, and Zhong Manhua was so embarrassed by the snide remarks from other wealthy women that she couldn't even show her face in public. She couldn't help but think this daughter was born to ruin her life. After hearing the old lady's accusations, Yin Zijin smirked, "I'm not blind." Yin Lu Wei looked at her innocently and said, "Zijin, how could you say that? Auntie isn't blaming you." Before she could finish, Yin Zijin pulled out her phone and played a recording. "Zijin, go to room 1801 at the Queen Hotel. I've prepared bath supplies and new clothes for you. After you finish, join me for a trip to the Bund, okay?" Yin Lu Wei's face turned pale, and Zhong Manhua was stunned. The voice was unmistakably Yin Lu Wei's. Yin Zijin looked at the shocked old lady with an expressionless face and said, "Any more questions?" Yin Lu Wei quickly tried to explain, "It's all my fault, I forgot about this. I was the one who asked Zijing to go, but I had to step out, and Morfeng returned earlier than expected." The old lady, now feeling awkward, quickly changed the topic. "Even if that was a misunderstanding, how do you explain pushing Wei down the stairs? You knew she had hemophilia. Were you trying to kill her?" Before Yin Zijin could respond, Yin Lu Wei suddenly rushed forward, looking panicked, and said, "It wasn't Zijing's fault." However, Zhong Manhua, furious, cut her off. "There's no need to defend her. She's always been a liar, just like before." Then she slammed the table and shouted, "Apologize to your aunt right now. Do you even know what people are saying about you? Ungrateful. You're such a disgrace." At that moment, the butler, who had been quietly checking the news, suddenly spoke up, "Madam, there's a problem. Someone released a video from the banquet that night." Zhong Manhua was shocked. "A video? Let me see." "That was a private New Year's Eve party, how could there be a video? If there's footage, we can't cover this up anymore." The old lady, however, just sneered. Good, let the video speak for itself. The truth will expose all the lies. But Yin Lu Wei seemed to realize something, and her expression changed. She tried to stop them, but it was too late. The video started playing automatically, with a straightforward title, The Yin Family's Adopted Daughter, The Truth Behind Her Betrayal. In the video, two women were gracefully walking down the stairs. Midway, the woman in front stepped on her dress, suddenly falling down the stairs and grabbing the girl behind her. The girl looked confused but quickly held onto the railing, avoiding falling herself. The footage revealed the truth like a slap in the face to everyone who had believed the lies. Zhong Manhua looked a bit ashamed as she glanced at her daughter. If you had told me, I wouldn't have ignored it. But Yin Zijin didn't bother responding to her. Instead, she casually scanned the room, noticing the different expressions on each member of the Yin family. This habit of slandering others seems to run deep in your family. Keep it up, she said with a smirk, then turned and walked away without looking back. Zhong Manhua shivered, feeling like something important was slipping away, something she could never get back. Zhong Manhua was stunned, never expecting that she would be looked down on like that. Meanwhile, Yin Lu Wei, who had been timid before, decided it was time to fight back. Yin Lu Wei sent out another apology to calm her fans, but, as usual, it was filled with fake sweetness. Sure enough, her die-hard fans started feeling sorry for her again. Yin Zijin saw this and couldn't help but sneer. That two-faced act really worked for her, didn't it? No wonder so many people were fooled by her. But who exactly leaked the surveillance video online to help Yin Zijin out? At that moment, in a small apartment downtown, Fu Yunshan was sipping a cup of goji berry tea. Suddenly, his computer screen beeped, and a line of red text appeared on the suddenly darkened screen. Who sent you? Why did you get involved? Fu Yunshan smiled and typed back, because she's a friend of mine, of course, I had to back her up. The other person responded with a screen full of question marks, but Fu Yunshan didn't explain further. Instead, he asked, anything else? The screen was still for about 10 seconds before more text appeared. Someone asked me to investigate. All three of you are on the hunters list. I sent you the info. Make sure to stay alive, so we can meet someday. Don't die before I get the chance. Fu Yunshan chuckled softly. Don't worry, I'll be waiting for you. The screen returned to normal, and 3 new folders appeared on his desktop. But he didn't bother to open them. A girl without any real status just walked into Luoran Bank. This isn't just any bank, only the super rich or important people get in. And then she whipped out a black card. Who even is this girl, and how many secrets does she have? Yin Zijin looked at the streets full of lanterns and kids playing without a care in the world. After spending her past life fighting and surviving, this sudden calm felt weird. Her thoughts drifted back to a year ago. Jiang Morfeng had taken her to Huiqing under the pretext of sponsoring her to attend Qingzi High School. At the time, she wasn't too thrilled about it because her adoptive father, Wen Fengmian, had severe asthma and needed care. But he told her that his life was already set, while she was still young and shouldn't be stuck in their small town forever. He wanted her to go out and build a better future. But her adoptive father probably never imagined that after she was taken in by the Yin family, things would turn out like this. Not only was her identity stolen by the adopted daughter of the Yin family, but she was also bullied, mocked, had her ID stolen, and lost all contact with her adoptive family. Luckily, she managed to get her documents back, and now she needed to find time to visit Qingxue County. Thinking about this, she handed the black card she got from selling ancient coins to the bank teller. Could you please withdraw $2,000 in cash for me, and then set up a new account with $1 million in it? The teller smiled as she quickly processed the request. Yin Zijin yawned and casually noticed the golden iris flower on the wall. Wait, wasn't this the symbol she had drawn years ago? Who would have thought that after all these years, the stingy Luoran family would have grown the bank into a global giant? Maybe the gold she saved back then is still waiting for her. At that moment, across the street, Yin Zijin's classmate Lu Fang was hunched over the counter at a traditional Chinese medicine shop, doing his homework. He glanced up and was immediately caught off guard by the figure at the door. Wait a second, isn't that her? What's she doing at Laurent Bank? Does she think it's just some regular bank? Lu Ji was busy writing something down and only gave a quick glance. But then her expression darkened. Lu Fang chimed in, didn't you say she gave you attitude yesterday? Lu Ji sneered, yeah, she sure did. She's got a big temper for someone with no real skills. If it wasn't for Yin Lu Wei asking me, I wouldn't even bother helping her recover. Lu Fang was about to comfort his sister when he suddenly pointed outside in surprise. Why is she heading this way? You think she's coming to buy medicine from our store? Lu Shi scoffed, if she's here to buy medicine, I'll gladly sell it to her. Just then, Yin Zijin walked into the store. The shop assistant greeted her, feel free to browse the shelves if you need anything. Meanwhile, Lu Ji and Lu Fang were in the back office, watching her on the surveillance monitor. Lu Fang, puzzled, asked, why are we hiding from her? Lu Shi smirked, hiding? No, I want her to make a fool of herself. When she comes begging, I want to see if she can even afford our medicine. Lu Fang quickly caught on, grinning. What if she ends up crying out of frustration? Later, can you send me the video? I'll share it with the class when school starts. She's always dragging down our elite class, so I want everyone to see her mess up. Lu Ji didn't take her eyes off the screen, no problem. I'll send it to Lu Wei too, let's give her something to smile about. Yin Zijin was originally headed to the Lu family's place but suddenly stopped in her tracks. She turned around and stared directly into the surveillance camera. The people watching her from the office were startled. Could she actually know they were spying on her? Yin Zijin looked at the shelves filled with traditional Chinese medicine, lost in thought. Ever since she woke up, trouble had been coming at her non-stop. Even through the wooden shelves, she could tell these herbs were at most 20 years old, not the best quality. But with her adoptive father when Feng Mian's illness being so urgent, she had no choice but to make do with what she could get. Worst case, she'd head into the mountains herself in a few days to dig up better herbs. The cashier noticed her browsing and asked if she needed help choosing some herbs. Yin Zijin rattled off a list of 30 different herbs, asking for 10 pounds of each. Lu Fang, watching from the office, couldn't help but laugh out loud. Does she think she's shopping for groceries? What a clueless country bumpkin. Lu Ji sent a quick text to the cashier, saying, not that it matters, she won't be able to afford it anyway. The cashier saw the message and grinned before saying, Miss, that's quite a large order. We'll need to prepare the stock, so could you please sign this form first? Yin Zijin calmly asked, how much in total? Right then, Lu Ji's message came through. The cashier glanced at it and, with a big smile, replied, that'll be 500,000. Yin Zijin chuckled softly, is your pharmacy supplying the gods or something? The cashier awkwardly explained, our herbs are all handpicked from the mountains, so they're more expensive. But if you can't afford them? Yin Zijin raised an eyebrow, cutting her off. Go ahead, she said. The cashier was momentarily stunned but quickly snapped back to attention, right away, let me get your bill. This whole exchange left the Lu siblings completely baffled. Lu Shi skeptically asked, what is she up to? Where'd she get the money to spend like this? I heard her family barely gives her any allowance. Lu Fang chimed in, she's probably just a clueless bumpkin, doesn't know how rich families operate. Either way, if she buys it, we profit. The cashier quickly printed out the invoice and handed it over. Yin Zijin glanced at it but didn't sign right away. Instead, she pulled out her phone and slowly said, I'd like to file a complaint. The pharmacy at 148 Zhongshan South Road is selling medicinal herbs at 10 times the market price. Lu Ji came rushing out, furious, and yelled at Yin Zijin, are you trying to get yourself killed? How dare you file a complaint? Yin Zijin stared at her, completely unfazed, not even bothering to reply. Lu Ji felt a bit unsettled under her gaze, but still tried to play tough. I'm calling Mrs. Yin right now to see since when the Yin family let some random girl walk all over us. She was just trying to intimidate Yin Zijin into backing down, but Yin Zijin lazily yawned and said, "Go ahead and call. I can even help you if you want." Enraged, Lu Ji raised her hand to slap her, but before she could swing, someone grabbed her wrist and kicked her in the leg, sending her crashing into the cashier's counter. A cold voice came from the doorway, "Just because the Lin family wouldn't dare, doesn't mean I won't." The person who arrived was none other than Fu Yunchen, the seventh young master of a wealthy family. The sunlight hit his strikingly handsome face, making him look even more dazzling and confident. Yin Zijin, for once, straightened up a bit, as if she suddenly understood why ancient emperors fell for beauty. It really is tempting. She was about to say thank you, but Fu Yunchen cut her off. "I don't want to hear those words from you." He then patted her on the head and added, "We've known each other long enough. No need to be so formal." Yin Zijin pouted, thinking, "We've only known each other for less than a day." But whatever, she decided to just go along with him. Meanwhile, Lu Ji's face turned pale. Since when did this foster daughter of the Yin family start hanging out with Fu Yunchen, the seventh young master? Forcing a smile, she said, "Seventh young master, why didn't you tell us you were coming? We would have prepared better." Fu Yunchen finally glanced at her and casually said, "How about 500,000? As Lu Ji struggled to figure out how to respond, Fu Yunchen picked up his phone and made a call. The person on the other end was surprised and asked, "Seventh young master, you're calling me?" Fu Yunchen replied nonchalantly, "Your Lu family seems to be short on money lately. You might want to drop that deal in the North District." The person on the other end was shocked and started to say something, but Fu Yunchen hung up before they could finish. At this point, Lu Ji was panicking because the call just now was to her father. She quickly tried to protest, "Seventh young master, you can't just," but Fu Yunchen shot her a sideways glance, making her immediately fall silent. She never imagined that Fu Yunchen would actually cancel a major order for the Lu family just because of this foster daughter of the Yin family. That order was worth millions. All because of this girl? The Lu family isn't a big powerhouse compared to the Fu family, they're practically small potatoes. She was furious, but didn't dare say anything. Just then, Lu Fang, who had been watching from the back room, couldn't stand it anymore and burst out, yelling, "Yin Zijin, you've really gone too far. It's not even a big deal, so why make such a fuss? It was just a joke, and you didn't even lose anything. If you let this go, I'll help you with your math. Deal?" But inside, Lu Fang was thinking with disdain, what on earth does Fu Yunchen see in this country girl that makes him protect her like this? Yin Zijin looked at Lu Fang, feeling like she had seen him somewhere before. She asked, "Who are you again?" This question caught Lu Fang off guard, and he sarcastically replied, "Oh, stop pretending. We've been classmates for a whole semester, and you don't know who I am? Don't forget, only the top 50 students can stay in the advanced class at Qingji. With your bottom-tier grades, if you don't improve, you'll be kicked out. So if you drop this whole thing today, I'll tutor you." Yin Zijin gave him another look, but still couldn't remember who he was. Lu Fang, now irritated, snapped, "You better think this through. You only get one chance." "And what's with that look? Do I look like an idiot?" Ignoring him, Yin Zijin turned to the cashier and said, "Please wrap up the herbs and have them delivered to the hotel across the street." The cashier hurriedly started processing the order, clearly flustered. Lu Fang was really annoyed and wanted to step forward, but he hesitated because he was wary of Fu Yunchen. The cashier cheerfully saw them off, assuring them that the herbs would be delivered to the hotel across the street shortly. Inside, the cashier was ecstatic, she was going to make a huge commission today. Frustrated, Lu Fang turned to Lu Ji and asked, "Sis, are we really going to just let this go?" Lu Ji was also fuming, but what could they do? Now that Yin Zijin had caught the attention of someone powerful, she was clearly feeling smug. Lu Ji thought to herself, no way she can keep Fu Yunchen wrapped around her finger forever. Just then, their dad called. As soon as Lu Ji answered with a dad, she was met with a furious roar, "Dad? What dad? I don't have a daughter like you. Get home immediately." Fu Yunchen looked at the mountain of herbs in front of him and frowned. He was about to ask Yin Zijin if she planned to eat them all when she suddenly pulled an electric pressure cooker out of her bag. Ignoring his confused stare, she quickly tossed some herbs into the cooker and plugged it in. She thought to herself that she didn't have time to make a traditional herbal stove, so she'd have to make do with this for now. Gotta keep up with the times, right? As she busied herself, she asked casually, "Did you have anything to do with that video exposing Ying Lu Wei?" Fu Yunshan's eyes twinkled with amusement as he replied, "How do you plan to thank your big brother?" Excited, the girl said, "How about I make sure you get tired all night?" Fu Yunshan squinted at her and asked, "Where do you learn to say things like that?" Yin Zijin lazily stood up and replied, "I read books. You can find anything in them. Honestly, I think the 21st century is pretty great, lots of fun things to do, and it's interesting."